ويعجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نعمره نكسه في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند مهزمون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم يرى الإنسان أن خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم ويحيي الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون صدق الله العلي العظيم. الفاتحة.
پر محمد وآل محمد صلوات.
اللهم
صل على
آل محمد.
گھبرائیں زینب یاد آئیں گی زینب بھیا تمہیں گھر جا کے کہاں پائیں گی زینب گھبرائیں گی زینب کیسا یہ براگر ہوا برباد الہی کیا آئی تباہی ابس کو نہ عباس کبھی پائیں گی زینب گھبرائیں گی زینب پھٹ جائے گا بس دیکھتے ہی گھر کو کلیجہ یاد آؤ گے بھیا دل ڈھونڈے گا تم کو تو کہاں پائیں گے زینب گھبرائیں گے زینب گھر جا کے کسے دیکھے گی قاسم ہے نہ عباس اکبر بھی نہیں پاس اپنے علی اصغر کو کہاں زینب घबराएंगे ज़ैनब पूछेंगे जो सब लोग के बाजू पे हुआ क्या ये नील है कैसा किस किस को निशान रस्सी के दिखलाएंगे ज़ैनब घबराएंगे ज़ैनब रहमल्लाहु मन करा अल-फातिहा.
We'll now have a short lecture by Uncle Mahmoud Datoo. For those of you who don't know, Uncle Mahmoud is Uncle Mujtaba's brother. Bismillah.
I take refuge in Allah from that devil who, because of his impertinence, ignorance, and insolence, has been thrown out of the kingdom of mercy of Allah. I begin in the name of Allah, His of absolute, perfect divinity, sovereignty, and eternity. His Rahman, His love and mercy reaches to each and every living creature in the entire universe. And His Rahim, His extra beneficence, is reserved exclusively for the believers and the good doers. Assalamu alaikum. The late Ayatollah Khomeini, in his volume of 40 ahadith, in chapter 6, he addresses the question, why is it that some people fear death? And Sadiq Al told me very clearly that when the announcement of Mujtaba's death is coming along, he had insisted that he should not say Mujtaba has died. He wanted to say that Mujtaba has passed away. And this is exactly what Imam Khomeini was answering. He says, we have misunderstood death. And he says, Imam Khomeini says, there are three kinds of people. The first one are the Nakisun. These are people who do not believe in the hereafter at all. They believe in death. The definition of death is the extinction of life and is the finality of stages. And these kinds of people, the Nakisun, the deficient people, do not believe in the hereafter. And these people are very fearful of this transition because they think that is the final stage. There is nothing more after that. And Imam Khomeini says the second kind of groups of people are the Mutawassitun, the moderate people, who says they have rationalized that there must be something after this world. And the third kind of people are the Kamilun. These are the people with complete certainty that there is no such thing as death, but there is simply a transition, and these are the Prophet and his household. For us, the human being, we belong to the second group of the moderate believers. We have rationalized that this world is not the only part of the journey, but there are three parts of the journey. There is this world, there is the transition to the interspace, sometimes called the intermediate world, and there is a third stage called the hereafter, which is the eternal world. So in fact, when somebody dies, we don't believe that somebody has died. What we believe is that somebody has simply transitioned from one stage to another. In this world, which is the first stage, into the intermediate stage, which is the interspace stage, and after that is the final stage. So the question then arises is, why do we fear this transition journey? Today, in this world, when we've done something wrong, we are taken to a court of law. And there are 4 people in that court of law. There is the defendant himself or herself. There is the lawyer. There is the jury, and there is the judge. And in this great land of the United States of America, where lawsuits is the norm, the defendant is at the mercy of who? At the mercy of who? At the mercy of the jury and at the mercy of the lawyer. If the lawyer is so good, he can spin the crime, if there was a crime, he can get you out of that crime, out of that punishment. Even though you might have been guilty, but if the lawyer was so good, he can change that guilty. But if the lawyer, however good or bad he was, he depends on those 12 people on the jury. Were they attentive? Did they listen to the argument? Do they come to the right decision? And we know of many cases where there's been miscarriage of justice, where somebody was guilty, got away scot-free, and somebody who is innocent is made guilty because they are at the mercy of the fallibles, the lawyer and the jury. At the end, who decides the sentences? Not the defendant, not the jury, not the lawyer, but the judge. You are now at the mercy of 3 people: your lawyer, the jury whom you have no control, and the judge of whom you have no idea what the sentence will be coming. Imam Khomeini says, when we are in this world, the defendant is the lawyer, the defendant is the jury, and who is the judge? On that day in the hereafter, when we are going for reckoning, the judge is the one who is the fairest of all. He is the one who is the most just of all. He has no bias whatsoever. On that day in that court, it is the defendant and the judge. It is we, the defendant, and God is the judge. In the collection of Al-Kulaini, the 6th Imam says, do not fear the transition journey. You have nothing to fear. Why? Because you are your own doctor. You are your own physician. We don't need Muhammad Taqi Sivji to be a physician here. We are our own physician. And this is what the Imam says. We know the disease that you might be carrying is the distractions that will keep you away from the next transition. You can make up your own medicine. You make up your own prognosis. You know what is good for you to help you transition. So why do you fear? You, the defendant, you are your own physician. You know the diagnosis and you know the prognosis. The next stage of the transition should not be something that you are afraid of. But human nature is such, for something that we had not seen, we are apprehensive. We should not be fearful, but we are apprehensive. So the question then arises in that final stage of the hereafter. Is there heaven? Is there hell? How do we know? And the Prophet himself, His Holiness the Prophet said, when he went on the journey of the ascension, when he came back, he told the people, I reached a certain level there whereby I could see the heavens and I could see the hell. And I asked the angel Gabriel, the archangel Gabriel, he says, I see here, and he used the words that we could understand. It doesn't mean it was exactly what he was saying, but he was using a language we, the humans, understand. And the Prophet said, I asked angel Gabriel, I see angels here in heavens who are building a house, but only the outside of the house. When it comes to the internal decoration, remember the Prophet was using language that we could understand. And when it came to internal decoration, he says, I could see angels busy putting up internal decorations, and then they would stop. And nothing would happen for a while. And then they would become active again. And angel Gabriel is telling the Prophet, what happens is this, is those human beings in this world, when they do good, it's when the angels are building bricks and the decorations inside that house of the heaven. And when that person stops doing good, they stop building the bricks. So we control our own destiny in the hereafter. This is what the 6th Imam said, do not fear, we are our own physician. And when we're meeting the judge who is the most just of all, we control the judgment. How we build it, that house is up to us in this world. And the same with hell. When the Prophet saw that the temperature of the hell is increasing, he says that person is now not doing a good deed in the world. He is building up his own temperature in that oven in the hereafter. But look at the mercy of Allah. He says, to reach that next stage, the intermediate, and the final stage, the hereafter, you have to pass through this world. No human being, not even the prophets, not even the imams, no saint, no prophet, ever gone to the intermediate world of the hereafter without passing in this world. We all have to pass this world to go to the next stage. So when we are in this world, Imam Ali says, we can either make this world a wretched and a cursed world, or we can make this world heaven on earth in how we build our hereafter. And he gave a beautiful example. One activity which can be a wretched world, one activity which can be a heavenly world in which we will control our destiny in the hereafter. He said, take somebody who's making a living, a lawful living, doing about the work, morning to evening, 9 to 5, 8 to 4, 8 to 6, at work or on Zoom or online in this case. And with that lawful living that he makes, he supports his family, he makes himself comfortable, he has all the gadgets he needs to make himself comfortable, but Imam says, he does not attach himself to this world. He is semi-detached from this world. He makes himself comfortable, but with that livelihood, the earning that he has, he uses part of that earning to make the transition for the next journey. How? He pays his taxes, he gives to charity, he helps the needy. This is what Imam says can be heaven on earth. You make yourself comfortable, and then you look after the needy, you look after the charity to build for the hereafter. You control your end destiny. And then he says, look at the other kind of people. They also make the same living, but they are so attached to this world that they only look after themselves and their own comfort. They forget the needy, they forget the homeless, and forget the law for people not to give to the charity. And Imam gave another example. He says, every human being has been given a skill in this world. It is up to that person to identify that skill. And he says, look at education. Every person who's given the skill of education in whatever field can either use that skill to benefit the world and benefit himself in this world and make use of that skill in the hereafter. And this is the example that I'm using, not the example that Imam says. Look at the professor of physics. In Los Angeles, in this community, we have a professor of physics, Dr. Mujtaba, Professor Mujtaba. He knows quantum physics. Now he has a choice. He could use that quantum physics to make nuclear bombs to destroy the world. He has that knowledge. He has that skill. Or he could use that skill of quantum physics to help make nuclear fission to provide energy to this world, which is environmentally friendly, which benefits people. So this is what the Imam is saying. For the skill that you have, you can either use that skill to benefit yourself and the people who need it and build for your next transition, or you can use that skill to destroy your own transition. Marhum Mujtaba had a skill like any other human being. And because of the nature of his work, and actually would make predictions. But those predictions has to be put into action. And to be put into action, the actuaries need to know the governance and the constitution of each state that he was working in. Of the 51 states in the United States, he had produced the Board of Governors reports for 46 of those 51 states. He used that skill for this world. But at the same time, he used that skill to help the non-profit organizations how to run the governance in what we would call constitution. Only yesterday, when Akhil and I were going through his boxes, those storage boxes, there were 2 boxes there which had printed governance, not of his work. There were 6 boxes of his work governance, but there were 2 boxes of governance of Jamaats of the Khoja Shia Isnashiri that he had part in, of the regional federation, and I went through each one of those. But he also helped in governance of the non-profit organizations that were not Shias and that were not Muslims. May Allah in His mercy for the skill that he used to benefit all in this world. And that was his passport for the governance for the hereafter. In the intermediate world and in the world hereafter. May God, in infinite mercy, accept the meager contribution that he has made. As we grieve the separation of a brother, of an uncle, of a cousin, of a dear colleague, of a dear friend, of a community member. Let us remember the separation of an 8-year-old girl called Fatima Sughra. Her younger sister Sukaina of 5 years old, and a baby brother just born about 1 month old in the city of Medina. When Imam Husein is leaving the city of Medina on Saturday night on the 28th of Rajab, Fatima Sughra has got a high temperature and ill. Imam takes all the other members of the family. He says, we will now go to the city of Mecca. But he comes to Fatima Sughra and he tells his daughter, because you are so ill and the journey is so long ahead, I don't have the heart to give you the trouble to come to the journey. I would like you to stay here in Medina with your great grandmother, Salma. The innocent girl implores her father, oh Dad, please take me with you. Imam says, oh daughter, I cannot take you with me on this journey. The respect of the daughter to the father, she does not argue with him. She goes to her uncle Abbas. And she says, oh, Uncle Abbas, if there's anyone who can change the mind of my father, it is you. Go to my father on my behalf. Persuade him for me also to come on this journey. Hazrat Abbas comes to Imam Husein. Imam tells Hazrat Abbas, oh brother, this is a one-way journey. There is no coming back. Fatima is too ill to come on the journey. Historians record the girl now comes to her father and she says, oh Dad, if you think I'm ill and I'm going to be a burden on the journey, I will travel on the camel which are carrying the provisions, so I'm not a burden on the journey. Historians say we saw Husein, as they called him, we saw Husein sitting on the ground, taking the daughter in his laps, and he says, Fatima, do you know why I named you Fatima? He says, I named you Fatima because of my mother. She is so patient, and I named you Fatima because this is the time for your destiny to show the same patience that my mother had. Fatima says, oh Dad, okay, that is fine. But let me say my final farewell to my young baby brother, Ali al-Aswad. Imam says to Lady Rubab, give the baby into the arms of Fatima. Ali Asghar comes into the arms and the bosom of Fatima. A time now comes when Imam Husein says, we have now got to leave and let Ali Asghar come back to the mother. Some ladies come and try to take the baby away from the arms of Fatima. The baby refuses to leave and he clings on to the arms of Fatima. Imam is now telling his wife, Lady Rubab, as a mother, you come and take your baby from the arms of your daughter Fatima. Historians write, when the mother comes and tries to take the baby refuses to go to the mother. And then the historians say, we saw something which has baffled us until after Karbala. We saw Husein come near to Fatima and whispered something into the ears of the baby. We saw the baby suddenly now takes his arms away from the neck of Fatima, goes back into the arms of Imam Husein, and Imam Husein gives the baby to Lady Ruba. After the tragedy of Karbala, when Imam Sajjad came back to Medina, the people of Medina asked Imam Sajjad, do you know what your father said to the baby? When the ladies could not persuade the baby, when the mother could not persuade the baby, what did your father tell the baby that persuaded him to leave? And these are the words of Imam Sajjad. Oh, people of Medina,
We missed the Majlis.
you are reminding me of a heart-wrenching moment in the plains of Karbala.
Why are you watching the crying part?
What I whispered to my son Ali Asghar, he said, oh Ali, I want you to come to Karbala because your name is in the roll of martyrs. But all citizens of Medina, what a roll of martyr for a 6-month-old baby who was mercilessly butchered and slaughtered with an arrow that tore his throat.
Surah Mubarak al-Fatiha. Wanted to take a moment to thank Uncle Mahmoud for gracing us with that inspiring lecture, and also reminding us of the memories of Uncle Mujtaba, Marhum Uncle Mujtaba. He definitely touched many, the elderly, many of his friends, and the young as well. And he impacted so many people, not only within our community, but within the whole Islamic community at large. He definitely will be missed, and he will dearly be missed by all of us. Before we conclude with Ziyarat, please let us recite 5 times Dua Shafa for all of those who are ill in this world. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Amma yujibul mustarayda wa yakshifu su. Amma yujibul mustarayda wa yakshifu su. Amma yujibul mustarayda wa yakshifu su. Amma yujibu mustarayzada wa yakshifu su. Amma yujibu mustarayzada wa yakshifu su. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Before we end with Ziyarat, please let us recite Surah Fatiha for Uncle Marhum, Uncle Mujtaba, and all Marhum and Marhumins.
السلام عليك يا رسول الله، السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليك يا حسن المجتبى، السلام عليك يا باب الله والتي التي فيك ولاءت بأهلك، عليكم مني سلام الله يرضى ما بكيت وبكي الليل والنهار، ولا جاء الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين ولا علي بن الحسين ولا أولاد الحسين ولا أصحاب الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا شمس الشموس ونيس النفوس أيها المدفون بأرض الشموس ورزا المنتظر راضي بالقدر والقضاء السلطان بالحسن علي بن موسى ورحمة
الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا مولاي يا صاحب الزمان. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. السلام عليك يا كعبة الإيمان. السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان. السلام عليكم يا آل بيت النبوة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم كل وليك مجدد الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه زكاة وتمتعه فيها طويلا